Within you dies, don't you?
こんにちは。トロス大学国際交流科の若松nurさんと申します。この度、2021年4月30日に行われます国際物流シンポジウムのホストを私どもトロス大学が務めることになりました。このシンポジウムは物流業界ロダとトゥンサットの共催で行われます。私どもトロス大学はトルコの最も美しい町に一つメルシン市にあります。実はこのメルシン、日本との間に特別な関係があるんです。メルシン市と和歌山県串本町は互いに姉妹都市提携を結んでいます。メルシンは年間300日もの間、好天に恵まれる典型的な地中海気候です。人々も陽気でフレンドリーなことで知られています。地中海沿岸に位置していることから大規模な港があり、古くからさまざまな地域と交流した歴史を持っています。そして広大な畑もあり、観光や商業が発達しています。トルコにとっても地中海地域にとっても重要な港とともにチュクロワ地域に建設中の新空港が完成すれば、物流の新たな拠点としてメルシンの重要性はますます高まることでしょう。私どもトロス大学はメルシン市内の中心部にあります。大学自体は2009年に開設されて比較的な新しい大学と言えますが、学校法人としてのトロスの歴史は古く、1964年に創設されたトロス学園がその始まりになります。現在では幼稚園と保育園、小中高校まで含めた形で運営されており、このチュクロワ地域においては初めて英語で授業を行った学校としても知られています。メルシン市内には4つのキャンパスがあり、競技プール、図書館、劇場や学生寮まで備えています。私どもトロス大学には全部で4つの学部と2つの短大があり、そのうち2つの学部では授業が英語で行われています。本学についての詳細は www.toros.edu.tr のウェブサイトにありますので、もしよかったら見てみてください。私どもトロス大学では学生に独自の記憶モデルを実践しています。特にインターン記憶などより実践的な記憶を行っています。こうした実践的な記憶モデルは学生たちが卒業した後もしっかりとしたキャリア形成を行えるようにするためのスキルを形成できるようになっています。皆様のお越しを心よりお待ち申し上げております。ごきげんよう。
Voice is not open.
Niye açılmadı?
Okay.
Dear participants, welcome to the International Sustainable Logistics Symposium, which is held for the first time. The symposium hosted by Toros University, Faculty of Economics, Administrative and Social Sciences, Department of International Trade and Logistics, and also in cooperation with the Turkish Logistics Association and Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, Department of Logistics and Information Engineering. We would like to thank all parties who contributed to this occasion. Many different countries and different discipline studies participated in the symposium held with the theme of sustainability. The symposium, which will take a day and include more than 50 scientific studies to be presented in 3 parallel sessions, as well as 4 keynote speakers, each is precious. 2 issues came to the fore in the selection of the symposium theme. The first of these is the Horizon 2020 Green Deal call highlighted by the European Union. The other is the COVID-19 pandemic, which started in late 2019 and affected the whole world in a short time. The importance of logistics processes and sustainability once again acknowledged, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic, which had significant global consequences since the end of 2019 and the subsequent evolutions. It has become much more necessary to fulfill the needs of the present generation without exhausting the rise of future generations within the rising competition conditions and the challenge of the disease that we are facing. Indeed, the focus on the concept of sustainability has come to the fore with the call for the Green Deal of the Horizon 2020 program of the European Union. In this framework, the purpose of the symposium to be arranged under the main theme of sustainable logistics is to expose the latest trends in logistics and supply chain fields. Furthermore, this symposium is arranged to share current findings and applications and to contribute to the advancement of scientific studies in these fields and to the development of activities in the sector. Moreover, by reviewing regional issues, it will ensure the production of common solutions and the strengthening of vocational and social contact and collaboration between stakeholders. With the hope that the International Sustainable Logistics Symposium, which was held for the first time this year, will be sequential for the upcoming years. Now, in order to deliver his opening speech, I gave the floor to Associate Professor Ayhan Demirci, Head of the International Trade and Logistics Department of Toros University, Faculty of Economics, Administrative and Social Sciences.
Thank you. Dear all, today we came together for the International Sustainable Logistics Sempozyum. This symposium is hosted by Toros University with the cooperation of Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology and also supported by Turkish Logistics Association. I would like to express my gratitude to all those who contributed. I also especially thank to Watanabe Daisuke for his great collaboration. Sustainability is an increasingly crucial concept in recent few decades. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has made its mark especially during the last year, once again revealed the importance of a sustainable structure in logistics process. The COVID-19 breakout strengthened the government's recognition of the importance of logistics in all over the world, while also placing the focus of the policymakers and the industry on green recovery in the coming years. Indeed, the focus on the concept of sustainability has come to the fore with the call for the Green Deal of the Horizon 2020 program of the European Union as well. There is a major issue setting the tone among supply chain's current challenge, achieving sustainable logistics. As is well known, achieving efficiency in the supply chain mainly involves improving customer service and decreasing costs. To do this, the distribution and transport activities, which are part of the chain's last stage, face risks directly related to the speed in deliveries demanded by clients and to the impact of transport on the environment. Both aspects require a focus on sustainability, considering a logistics system that promotes the optimal design of routes and shorter trips to lower the emission to pollute that environment. Consumer and companies from all sectors are increasingly developing an environmental awareness, which is put into practice in their operations and daily lives, is also demanded from their direct suppliers. We were excited about some of the scientific studies to be presented at the symposium within this scope. Sustainable logistics aims to decrease the ecological footprint of its tasks, such as carbon dioxide emission, noise pollution, and accident. In this sense, logistics suppliers must look for a balance between financial growth, environmental care, and the health of society. In any case, continuity of a business is much more important than beginning. For this reason, the theme of the symposium has been determined as sustainability and brought together all of us, valuable participants. There are well-known keynote speakers from Turkey, Japan, and the United States, and also numerous valuable scientific studies will be presented at this organization. I hope it to be fruitful and efficient for everyone. I would like to thank everybody contributing to all processes of the symposium from the beginning of the preparation phase to the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Demirci. Now, in order to deliver his opening speech, I give the floor to Professor Mehmed Tanyash, Chairman of the Turkish Logistics Association.
Thank you. Good morning. For Turkish people, I think good evening for Japanese people. Let me start. Dear Rector, Deans, and participants, it is a great pleasure for us to host the International Symposium on Sustainable Logistics. As you know, we had to hold the Congress online this year due to pandemic. As you know, scientific congresses and symposiums are very useful for providing references for establishing logistic and supply chain policies and solving in this area, solving problems in this area. This Congress provides one of the milestones on this basis with presentation, discussion, and proceedings. I am chairman of the Logistic Association, in short, LODAR, as announced. So I would like to introduce you, LODAR. Let me share my presentation. Okay. The LODAR was established in 2001. It's an association that accepts only individual members. It has approximately 1,000 members we have. In the General Assembly held every 3 years, new board and directors and supervisor board and disciplinary board are determined. And you see the current board of directors on the slide. We have provincial representatives, Professor Köksal Hazır from Mersin is one of the provincial representatives. Our mission is to support our stakeholders in carrying out their logistic and supply chain management activities in line with their strategic goals and to make them sustainable. And you see our vision and our values. These are annual programmed activities of LODAR. As you see, International Congress, National Congress, panels, symposiums. We have supply chain professionals club activities. We select the most effective supply chain professionals of the year. Automation technologies, Symposium, inter-university logistic case competition. Inspection within the scope of logistic system standards, especially warehousing and road transportation. Workshops and training of trainers with the scope of logistic education standards. National logistic project competition, corporate trainings, unilateral activities consist of universal logistic student clubs, and they are organizing National Logistic Student Congress. And we celebrate a European logistic supply chain every year. social activities, logistic terms, dictionary, and international relations and public and private sector relations in Turkey. These are the images from our activities. Okay, let me turn to my speech. I would like to thank Toros University Faculty of Economics, Administrative and Social Science, Department of International Trade and Logistics, and also Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, Department of Logistic Information Engineering, for their efforts in organizing this Congress. I especially thank to my friend, Professor Daisuke Watanabe, for his contribution to our Congress. Our special thanks go to Professor Köksal Hazır and Ayhan Demirci and their team who did a lot of organizational works. Finally, I would like to thank everyone who has contributed for making this symposium a reality and success. I wish all participants a very fruitful symposium and healthy days. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tanyash, for your strong support and cooperation. Now, in order to deliver his opening speech, I give the floor to Professor Hyodo, Dean of Graduate School of Marine Science and Technology of Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology.
Okay. At first, I will show the very good view from my office, like this.
You are lucky.
Yes, our campus located at the central area of Tokyo, it's very near to Tokyo stations. Okay, thank you very much for your kind introduction. My name is Tetsuro Hyodo, Dean of the Graduate School at Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology in Japan. As one of the organizers of this symposium, it's my great honor to deliver the opening remarks. This symposium is an international symposium co-hosted by Toros University, the Turkish Logistics Association, LODER, and the Department of Logistics and Information Engineering at our university. As governments and companies around the world are working on the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. So I'm very pleased to be able to discuss the theme of this symposium, Sustainable Logistics. First, let me introduce our university. Our university is the only national university in Japan that specializes in education and research related to fishery and maritime. In other words, our university's another name is the Tokyo University of Fish and Ships. While our university has a long history since 1875, the Department of Logistics and Information Engineering, our department, was established in 1978 and is characterized by its professional education in logistics with an engineering approach. As you know, Japan and Turkey have been building a good friendship for a long time, despite the long distance between the eastern and western ends of Asia. It has been 131 years since the Turkish warship Ertuğrul, Ertuğrul was lost in 1890 off the coast of Kushimoto City in southern Japan. The desperate rescue of the Turkish crew by coastal residents has created strong bonds through the ocean. As Mersin City, where the Toros University is located, has a sister city relationship with this Kushimoto City. So I am very pleased to be able to hold this symposium here, Mersin City. Okay, finally, I sincerely hope that the online discussion in this symposium will deepen the international academic exchange on sustainable logistics. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Hyodo, for your strong support and cooperation. Finally, in order to deliver his opening speech, I give the floor to Professor Ömer Aröz, Rector of Toros University.
Dear guests, welcome to the International Symposium on Sustainable Logistics today. We are proud to be the stakeholder and the host of such an important symposium. Let me give some relevant data and information about the subject. Foreign trade is of great importance for countries to increase their economic growth rates and to get more shares from global markets. For our country, of course, logistics is of great importance in terms of achieving our economic goals and global competition. Approximately 12% of world economy is related to logistics industry. Although transportation comes to mind when it comes to logistics today, many important issues such as taking the product from the place where it is produced, moving to its warehouses, stocking and transporting the product to the desired location are the basic issues of logistics. In parallel with these developments in the world, very serious breakthroughs are taking place in the industry. The industry has surged such a large volume today. A failure in the system can cause serious damages we have seen in the last weeks. Approximately 60% of our country's import and export volume is realized by the sea transportation, seaway. Known as the Pearl of the Eastern Mediterranean, Mersin City, of course, has a strategic importance for our region and our country. This port city in the Eastern Mediterranean, Çukurova, another region, has a critical importance for the import and export of industrial facilities located in the southeastern Anatolia and central Anatolia. Mersin Port is an important transportation point for the cities in its hinterland. It is also the biggest driver of our city's economy. As Toros University, we invest in the logistic industry, which is of great importance for our city Mersin and our country, and the future of the industry. In 2016, together with the Logistics Association, Mersin Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and our Maritime Chamber of Commerce, we hosted the 5th International Logistics and Supply Chain Congress. In this important congress, academicians presented more than 90 papers. In this congress, very important issues, of course, for the future of the industry world, we will be discussed. As Didem Demir mentioned before, at our university, we have an international trade and logistics department. And in addition to that, our graduate education institute has master programs in the international trade and logistics. With this awareness, we provide relevant education to our students. We aim to train new candidates in the industry who are well equipped in line with the needs of the industry. Thanks to the advisory board, which consists of the industry representatives, academics, and graduates, which are created separately for each department in our university. Dear guests, esteemed guests, Today we will discuss with our participants very important issues for our work, sustainability. I would like to thank all our stakeholders, first of all, the LODAT, Logistic Association, and the University in Japan, and in the name of Mehmed and Mr. Tetsuro. In this symposium, we will present you and thank you very much in advance for your valuable contributions for all our participants. Have a nice symposium, have a nice day, have a nice meetings.
Thank you, Professor Arauz, for your trust and strong support. In this part of the symposium program, precious keynote speakers will participate. Firstly, Associate Professor Daniel Bumblauskas from the University of Northern Iowa, the United States of America, will present on blockchain food distribution for public good. We will then take a break and meet again at 10:50 a.m. in Turkish local time. After that, respectively, Professor Tetsuro Hyodo from Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, Japan, will present on urban freight survey and availability for policy measures in Tokyo metropolitan area. Associate Professor Daisuke Watanabe from Tokyo University of Marine Science and Technology, Japan, will present on sustainable maritime transport. And last, founder of ION Academy, Ali Rıza Ersoy from Turkey, will present on sustainable future managing the digital transformation. Now I give the floor to Professor Daniel Bumblauskas to present on blockchain food distribution for public good.
Good morning to everyone there. Can you hear me okay? I believe we've got a video that we'll show since it's 2 a.m. My local time, right?
So, Bumblauskas, would you like to present your study or asynchronous video?
I suppose I can present it since I'm here. You can hear me okay, yes?
We can hear you, whatever you wish.
That's good. Yeah, so I had recorded a video in the instance where I wouldn't be able to join live given the time differential. Can you see my screen now? Good. Okay, so this work is work that I started with a team of former students as well as faculty colleagues at the University of Northern Iowa. So kind of like the nice view in Japan. I don't have a good view behind me, thus I've got the virtual background at the moment. The University of Northern Iowa is located right in the heart of the United States. And in our particular case, the startup of the organization in blockchain food sustainability was based in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and later moved to Colorado in the United States, which was very aggressive in seeking organizations to start startup companies in this particular space. So they moved their headquarters to Colorado. So my co-authors on this study, Dr. Artie Mann is an MIS professor in my department, and then Brett Dugan and JC Rittmer are the founders of Biteable Inc., which is the company that I'll talk about a little bit today. Some of my background, feel free to connect with me on social media if we're not already connected. I greatly appreciate the invitation to join you as one of the keynote speakers for the event, so thank you for having me. A little bit of background on food sustainability. So as we talk about sustainable logistics, there's actually multiple studies that show essentially food travels on average 2,400 kilometers or 2,400 miles, depending on the study. But the average piece of food in our supply chain is in a very non-sustainable situation in terms of moving from A to B and identifying where it's been along the way. So blockchain, as we've heard of, I'm sure in the past, is a way to get that immutable footprint and block of data to see where something's been throughout the course of time. So we have our essentially first mile, last mile delivery, as well as everything in between happening, and looking at whether or not that was done in a way that was sustainable, as well as something that was well tracked throughout the process. This particular work has been documented in an article published by the International Journal of Information Management. I've actually presented on this topic, as you can see here, numerous times around the world, of course, before COVID. So this has been a very, very popular topic for me since we embarked upon the work. So what is blockchain? Of course, most of us associate blockchain with cryptocurrency, and we've seen a lot of different types of cryptocurrency emerge over the last couple of years in particular. But in terms of the use for supply chain management and logistics, this is an interesting technology and turning point within the industry. We actually have a couple of students doing their honors program theses on blockchain and using it for finance and banking, as well as other applications. So they're very, very timely and very, very large number of uses in terms of different applications for blockchain. To put it in perspective, it's very similar to the internet for information sharing and information management, where it took quite a while for the internet, upwards of 10 years for the internet to really gain traction and hold. I believe that from a timeline perspective, blockchain will be similar. It's going to take a number of years before people are really sure how to use it. One of the challenges that I often talk about is standardization. So like many of us are probably on Wi-Fi networks, when IEEE and others standardized on communication protocols, blockchain has a lot of different methodologies for how you can deploy the distributed ledgers. And because of that, everyone's trying to race to find the best way to do it, which is good from an innovation standpoint, but not good from a standardization standpoint. So some of the history of the space for tracking information here, many of us are familiar with these things from an operations and supply chain perspective, and where we're at today in terms of data visualization, AI, blockchain, machine learning being part of this. Here's what the general process looks like. So from a logistics perspective, you're tracking in the digital footprint all of these different parameters along the chain, from your manufacturer through your distributor and to eventually the final party. And having that immutable footprint is very important for accuracy along the way. One of the primary spaces for this application is food, of course. Food, between foodborne illness, greenwashing and fraud, as well as just general consumer interest and demand in knowing where things are at, is an important consideration. So from that standpoint, especially in the United States food supply chain, one of those essential supply chains during COVID, it's important to know where everything's at along the way. So you can see a little bit here in terms of some of the different elements of why we care so much about food when it comes to fraud. One of our big issues here, greenwashing, where you have questionable practices for where things came from. One of the kind of classic case studies of this would be like beef coming in from Brazil and then being washed into North American made products. And we see some of this with, and particularly, I'm not going to talk about the beef case in detail today, but there's a case for beef that's because of the price of beef and the origin importance. That's one area that has a wide adoption potential. And you've seen IBM with Beef Chain and Bitable with their beef solution as well, being in that space. Of course, modern slavery, human rights, also an important consideration here. Here's a little bit on the architecture. So I remember once, I do a lot of projects in Europe, and I was with a sheep farmer once in Ireland, and asked him, would you use blockchain? And he just laughed. He's like, well, that's some kind of science fiction. I'm not using that. So back to the adaptation timeline, he did use NFC tags and other things that he said he would never use as well. Part of that was until it becomes mainstream and accessible and cost effective, people won't use it. Kind of like everyone said that after Walmart and the US military started using RFID, everyone would use RFID. It's taken a long time for that to really gain hold, and the cost differential between a barcode or a data matrix is still too high for many to adopt. Here's your typical system for that sheep farmer in Ireland, where they have a paper record, they do manual data entry, and it goes to some client server, if they're even using a computer system. Here's the blockchain interface, kind of at a high level, what's going on between each one of those within the network. So again, just a much more integrated methodology. Here's the overall system architecture of how the process and the project that we documented in the article works in terms of all the different pieces of the sawtooth ledger system and the distributed ledger. I'm not going to go into all of this in the interest of time. So again, we can have some conversation about this offline or separately. I'm going to talk today a little bit about a use case we did for eggs. So the two primary industries that we started with were in the space of beef, as I said, as well as in eggs. With eggs, what's going on here is you have a packer that's collecting and co-packing eggs into cartons. Those cartons are going out to transit, to a retail store, to a customer. And along the way, we want to have immutable certified record of where the eggs have been. Probably every conference I've been to in the world on this topic of food and blockchain talks about romaine lettuce. We had some romaine lettuce outbreaks for foodborne illness. This would be a similar sort of thing to that, where with lettuce or other types of products like that, you might band it with a rubber band. Here we've got egg cartons that are being one of the primary means of communication of the data. So if you scan the egg carton, as shown in these pictures here with your smartphone device, you can capture some of the important information to trace where the eggs have been through the blockchain process. So this particular carton of eggs that you pick up on the grocery store shelf, you can scan and determine exactly where they've been. In this particular case, there were 12 kind of free-range eggs that came from Kelowna, Iowa, from Farmer's Hen House. It gives their animal welfare and sustainability checklist, some of the data of the vendor or supplier, and then it tells you exactly where it has been through the blockchain. So you have your collection at Yoder Family Farms, the transit to the hen house, so on and so forth throughout the entire process. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into Farmer's Hen House in Kelowna, Iowa, you can view some of that detail as well, including their certifications, best practices, etc. What was interesting was that as we were going through this process, we anticipated that not everyone would scan these barcodes and that perhaps a smaller subset would spend more time than others on them. So I don't misquote myself here. I've gotten the notes. In this particular case, you know, we were thinking probably 5 to 10% of customers would scan the cartons for an average of a minute of perusing Farmer's Hen House, Kelowna, Iowa. As it turned out, we had a scan rate initially of about 21%, and they spent almost 3 minutes within that system. So they were scanning it at a higher rate than we expected and spending almost 3 times more time on the websites exploring this. Of course, there's a lot of interest from consumers and regulators in monitoring these things and who's actually going to pay to set up this sort of blockchain network for eggs or beef or cattle or anything else. So that's one of the considerations is who's going to foot the bill essentially to do this type of work, and is it something that the bulk of consumers are going to request or ask for or go onto the websites and view. Subsequent to the publication of the article and putting together this presentation, we've actually seen even more widespread adoption and usage of such websites, so even higher rates than that 21.2% and that 2 minutes, 48 seconds or whatever it was. I don't know how close that is to the time that I had allocated. I think that my recording was about 10 minutes. So hopefully that was adequate, and feel free to share the recording with conference participants as well. I might be a little bit more lucid since I'm half asleep after the early morning as well as allergies and the COVID vaccine here, but thanks for having me again.
Thank you very much for being here at this time in the United States. Professor Bublauskas. Now, thank you again, and we will take a short break now. Then we will get together for the other keynote speakers at 10:50 a.m. in Turkish local time. But before this, if you have questions to Professor Bublauskas, he is here to answer your questions.
I'll also put in the chat window if there's no immediate questions. If anyone would like to email me with questions or follow up on the project, feel free to.
Okay, thank you very much again, Professor Bublauskas. Okay, now we are going to have a break. Hi again. In this part of the symposium program, we continue with keynote speakers. You can ask your questions to our precious keynote speakers at the end of their speech. Now, I give the floor to Professor Tetsuro Hyodo to present on urban freight survey and availability for policy measures in Tokyo metropolitan area.
Yes. Okay. Can you see the top page as full size? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. My presentation title is Urban Freight Survey and Policy Measures in Tokyo Metropolitan Area. Actually, this is the second time to introduce this Tokyo Urban Freight Survey for Turkish people. What is the first? Yeah, 8 years ago, Istanbul city was planned to conduct urban freight survey, and they invited me as a lecturer of Tokyo experience at Taksim Metro. Yes, as this program, the workshop was 3 days program. It was good and tough experience for me. But I don't know later whether they conducted freight survey or not. I'm not sure. Okay, at first, I'd like to introduce Tokyo Metropolitan Area, TMA. TMA's population size is over 40 millions, over 40 millions. And 1/3 of whole Japan. There are 7 prefectures and major ports on the coast of Tokyo Bay. This red circle means the Tokyo Bay. So, who is conducting this survey? A Tokyo Metropolitan Transportation Planning Commission. This is public sectors with 5 prefectures and 5 major cities and so on. When started? First survey conducted in 1972, and the latest one is 2013. What is the sample size? We mailed out over 140,000 establishments and 44,000 returns. So the collection rate is around 30%. How much about this freight survey? The total, $2.2 million US. And so the gross unit cost is $16 US per establishment. And the net unit cost is around $50 US per establishment. I think it is not so expensive. So one of the features is the Tokyo Urban Freight Survey is a set of survey and modeling and policies. So this is the structure of Tokyo Metropolitan Freight Survey. So today I'd like to introduce main parts, establishment facility survey, And finally, the third part, truck probe survey. So first one is question items of establishment facility survey. First one is characteristics of logistics facilities. Of course, location or address or year of opening. So, and the second one is scale. To area of land or area of floor, and function. Function means contents of logistics processing. And characteristics of freight or inventory by goods. So second one is a volume of out and in by goods category. What means the volume is weight or a number of trucks. The third one is origin and destination information. Destination address of going out or attraction address of coming in goods. So, of course, we could record precise address. So by using GIS software, we can plot this location map like this. This is total all facilities. This is logistics facilities. The number of sample is around over 4,000 establishments, and factories, and business office, and shop and restaurants. So this slide shows the historical transitions of logistics facility location and construction of expressway in TMA. For example, this slide means the red point. Logistics facilities opened during 1952-1954. And for example, so you can see it, orange lines. And orange lines, expressway opened during 1965 to 1969. So in 1970 to 1980s, expressway construction has been highly progressed. And you can identify the strong relationship between expressway construction and logistics facility locations. So expressway induces more logistics facilities. Another map also shows the location characteristics in TMA. During 1790s, logistics facilities opened beside Tokyo Bay here. However, 1980 or 1990 and 2000. Recently, the outer ring road, this is outer ring road. Outer ring road or ring road expressway has opened this area. So many large-scale logistics facilities concentrate along the expressway. Of course, we can identify that, for example, modal share in freight in TMA. So intra-TMA, the commercial trucks is majority, and between TMA and other regions, because Japan is island nation, so 40% by ship. And this is a commodity flow by goods category. And this figure shows goods categories. Regarding a weight unit, the major category is chemical and goods. And the lower bar graphs, unit is number of trucks. Major category is food. So, and this figure shows commodity generation volume by city or by world. Of course, heavy goods concentrates Bay areas near seaports here. Also, this figure illustrates Tokyo metropolitan area is extremely concentrated, centered around Tokyo stations here. So very severe traffic congestion had occurred during 1960s. So going back to 1960s, I like to brief history of one of the very good policies for logistics in Japan. So the title is Role of Truck Terminals in Tokyo. In 1960s, Tokyo metropolitan area faced severe traffic jams. About 40% the vehicle kilometer traveled is truck, and PCU, passenger car unit of trucks, is over 1. So how to reduce truck VKT in CBD was discussed. So before the construction of public truck terminals is these figures. And there are mixing of flow with large size truck and small size trucks in central business district. The idea is here. The idea is construct truck terminals at crossing points with radial roads and ring roads. So large size trucks don't need to enter into a central business district. So to realize these situations, truck flow management by City Planning Act and public truck terminals by public-private partnership was introduced. So major effects of this public truck terminal is to reduce large size truck movement in CBD and to make more efficient movements of small trucks in CBD, and to reduce total logistics costs, and to activate value-added logistics activities at truck terminals. So to realize this, the first policy is constitute act on the improvement of urban distribution centers as one of the City Planning Act in 1966. Second policy is designate public urban distribution center areas at the 5 cross points of radial and ring roads. Third policy is establish PPP company for construction of public truck terminals by Special Act in 1965. The share of this company's stock was central government 1/3 and Tokyo Metropolitan government 1/3 and major freight companies 1/3. After 1966, during 1970 to 1980, 4 public truck terminals have been opened. And the ring road network have been also constructed gradually. And finally, public truck terminal company was privatized in 1985. Here is 4 public truck terminals, 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's a Tokyo station. And currently, these public truck terminals, public truck terminal company aims to transform from just a transfer center to distribution center. And the truck terminal and the freight railway terminals were the place for a transfer between different sizes of trucks or railway. However, recent facilities in the terminals have logistic functions such as storage, inspection and processing, and packaging. The dramatic increase of e-commerce and ICT require these functions. So, and this transition is very important for logistic facilities in or near CBD. So, especially in Tokyo metropolitan area, the occurrence of a huge earthquake is concerned, like as Istanbul in Turkey. So this is the conventional truck terminals. Now, this figure transformed to new distribution center. Okay, coming back to current urban freight survey. From the lower figures, we can confirm that newly constructed logistics facilities have many functions, such as collection and delivery, or distribution processing, not only storage. So this trend is very important to decide future logistics facility spatial distribution. Next topic is modeling. Firstly, I mentioned this urban freight survey is a set of survey and modeling and policies. So here I like to introduce an example of modeling. So this red area is data collection area in TMA. And one red point means 1 kilometer square mesh data. So there are around 18,000 meshes. And blue point is about 328 logistics facilities. That facility is large size and recent facilities. So by using this allocation of logistic facilities and around 18,000 mesh data, we can estimate logit model. So this mesh data has many attributions. For example, this is a population density, or population of workers, or accessibility to CBD, or land price. Of course, the land price is very, very important factors for location choice. And we tested 3 kinds of conventional discrete choice models. The first one is multinomial logit. Second one is binary logit. And the third one is binary probit. These equations is log likelihood functions. So this is a result of the estimated parameters of 3 models. And we used first one, multinomial logit models, to forecast the future location of logistics facilities. So by logistics facility location choice models, logit model, future needs in Tokyo Bay waterfront along Expressway in suburban are forecasted. So the process is to calibrate the future utilities. Of course, along the future ring road networks, the utility may be increased. So increase the utility in location choice models due to, for example, expressway development. So we can calibrate that gap. So that orange meshes is a higher, orange red mesh is may be increased utility mesh by the construction of ring roads. So this information is very, very helpful, or hints for future land use or access road to new interchange for local governments. So we forecast the future locations of logistics facilities by this logit model. Okay, finally, I'd like to introduce track probe data, the third one. So there are there are 3 kinds of collection methods to get the probe data. So I like to introduce the first one. The collection method first is the collect drive route data collectively from OBU. OBU is an onboard unit. For example, digital tachograph and so on. OBU makers. So this is a result of the freight survey data collection method 1, probe data. So, and we can identify the route or the road network of the medium-sized truck or large-sized trucks, and so on. And this is the demonstration movie by track probe data. Let's start. the moving circular track, and the movement trajectories are recorded as a line. Blue line is the velocity over 40 km per hour, and red line is under 440 km per hour. So the red line is congested roads. So we can identify the traffic situations by this probe data. Also, for example, route choice behavior models can be estimated by using this probe data. Okay, finally, this is the conclusions. Urban freight survey in TMA is useful for clarifying the goods flow for road network plans or trunk line or local line. Second one is capturing location and the function of logistics facilities. So it's very useful for land use plans or city plans by public sectors. Third one is clarifying truck behavior by probe data. And this is helpful for traffic management of heavy vehicles. So, and I'm happy. So my presentation would be informative for you. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Hyodo. Now I give the floor to Associate Professor Daisuke Watanabe to present on sustainable maritime transport.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
So I'd like to start my presentation. So first of all, it's my great honor to present my research as a keynote in this conference. Since Japan is surrounded by the ocean, so Japan is one of the major players in global shipping and shipbuilding sector. So Japan is also contributing to international actions to address climate change while ensuring the sustainable growth of maritime transport. So today, I would like to talk about sustainable maritime transport based on my research topics. So this slide shows the outline of my presentation. Firstly, I'd like to introduce the sustainability in global level. Greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. Then, secondly, I'd like to introduce that in regional level, in short sea shipping in Central Asia. And thirdly, I will introduce that in national level, maritime policy in Japan. Finally, I will conclude my presentation. So, as you can see in this figure, shipping is the least greenhouse gas and air pollutant emitting mode. Sorry, I will use there's a pointer here. Okay. So the in transportation in a ton kilo base compared to rail, road, and air freight. However, about 19% of international trade depend on shipping. So recently, fourth greenhouse gas study 2020 was published by IMO, International Maritime Organization, last year. So by the end of 2050, emissions are projected to have increased by up to 50%, 50%, relative to 2018, despite further efficiency gains, as there is expected to be continued growth of transport demand. So according to the initial IMO GHG strategy in 2018, in 2050, at least 50% reduction of total annual GHG emission is needed by realizing the design and technical measures, operational measures, and innovative measures, fuels, and technologies, as shown in this figure. So in addition, regulation on sulfur content is getting more strict. So emission control area, ECA, were established to limit SOx and particulate matter emission defined in MARPOL. This table shows sulfur content regulation on ship fuel. On ship fuel oil. From last year, 2020, ship must use bunker sulfur content less than 0.5%. And in emission control area, ECA, ship must use sulfur content less than 0.1%. So as you can see in this map, ECA is located in Baltic Sea area and the North Sea area in Europe and North American and Caribbean Sea area. And in East Japan and China and South Korea defined their own ECA. So there's no ECA around the Mediterranean Sea near Turkey and also in Japan. So it's quite a big problem for environmental issue. So I would like to introduce our research output about AIS-based bunker consumption and emission inventory that was published in this year. This is joint work with Professor Toros University and Professor Hirata Kobe University. So this flow chart shows the overview of this calculation. So using the vessel movement data, including ship dimension, speed, ship position, time, and draft, we derived the ship residence, consumption, and amount of emission when the vessel sailing speed based. Using the quite a typical calculation method suggested by ITTC. So the AIS automatic identification system is quite a useful data as a vessel movement data. So that's why we deploy AIS data that is initially mandated by SOLAS. And this table shows the detail of satellite AIS data by exact Earth. And right figure shows the geographic distribution of this data. And then finally, we can obtain the distribution of ship emission inventory by LNG carrier. So this map gives deeper insight into the distribution of emission, and the highly concentrated route are mostly located from Middle East to Far East, including Japan, Middle East to Europe, near Mediterranean Sea, and Oceania to Far East. So we can conclude that the application of geospatial analysis on ship emission inventory give us a quantitative result on how GHG emission is clustered. So now let's move on to second topic, regional level. So this chapter we will focus on the effectiveness of logistics policy and infrastructure development for cross-border transport in Central Asia, using simulation based on network equilibrium assignment model. So we presented this topic at the conference organized by ADBI, and this is a joint work with Kazakhstan Academy of Transport and Telecommunication. So as you can see in this map, the countries in Central Asia are landlocked and without coastline. So Japan and Turkey can enjoy the maritime shipping because we both faced with the oceans. So therefore, the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, TCTC, will play an important role in facilitating cross-border logistics among these countries, especially in Western direction. TCTC involves multimodal transport routes that combine the ferry over the Caspian Sea and land transport routes through South Caucasus to Turkey. Major infrastructure project in South Caucasus includes the railway network, Baku-Tbilisi-Kars BTK railway, open as a transport corridor connecting Azerbaijan and Turkey via Georgia in 2017. So the China's policy, Belt and Road Initiative, is designed to enhance land freight transport across the Eurasian continent along 6 economic corridors, like New Eurasian Land Bridge Economic Corridor from China to Europe, as shown in this map. In this map. And the China Railway Express, CRE, is a shorter transcontinental railway service that connected China with Russia and European countries. So as shown in this right figure, we can find that the rapid increase of cargo volume around 2013, when the BRI was announced. However, the problem is the imbalance in cargo volume. So the eastbound transport from Europe to China is about 80%, 80% that of westbound volume from China to Europe in 2019. So along with the TCTC, the block train service between Liangang in China and Istanbul in Turkey started from November 2018. And the regular container short sea shipping service between the port of Aktau and Baku in Caspian Sea started from April 2019. So you can see the figure of block train with Chinese and Russia. So the latest development strategy by Kazakhstan government in 1919 includes competitive delivery times, freight charge, and also emphasize the importance of Caspian ports. Caspian Seaport is operated by the subsidiary of Kazakhstan Railways, and their port function are classified into this table. So from Aktau port, ferry travel to and from Baku port in Azerbaijan around 20 hours. And Aktau North Port was established in the north of Aktau, and the Creek Port was established in 2017. And advantage in the sailing time can be shortened by around 10% on the sea routes using Creek Port. Now, we would like to move on to the model description of global logistics intermodal network simulation model, GREENS model. So GREENS was developed by Professor Shibasaki at the University of Tokyo. And we applied it to, and also there's many applications to many regions, including Eurasian continent. So this research applied it to simulate the impact of TCTC using GREENS model. So GREENS model is a two-layered traffic network assignment model as shown in this figure. So upper layer consists of stochastic assignment model in intermodal super network, and then lower layer consists of two user equilibrium assigned submodel in real network, representing maritime shipping and land transport. So one of the features of GREENS model is that it considers the capacity constraint of each transport mode. Now we assume the 6 policies as shown in this figure, in this table. And this policy implemented to promote the use of TCTC in the future. So based on these policies, we defined a five-stepwise scenario on the promotion of TCTC other than the baseline scenario prepared for the model simulation. So basically, we consider the infrastructure development in Kazakhstan railways and Caspian ferry. And we consider the reduction of freight rate of CRE, and also decreasing rate of border barrier cost between TCTC countries. So after the calculation of GREENS model for each scenario, we can obtain the estimated annual amount of laden containers transported by land from China to each countries: Iran, Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. And also in left-hand side, we can observe the estimated share of laden containers transported by land from China in each scenario. So we can observe that the significant increase of cargo volume in scenario 4, that includes the rail freight charge, is reduced by 75%. And also scenario 5, that includes the scenario 4 and the barrier cost reduction. From these results, we would like to focus on the calculation result of Turkey. So we can observe that the low volume, yellow one is Turkey, and we can observe that the amount, the low volume in Turkey, and also low share in Turkey. So this is due to the many national borders from China to Turkey, including Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and so on. And also this result is also related to the direct maritime shipping with cheaper fare from China to the port in Turkey. So finally, I would like to explain the national level policy in Japan. So in Japan, the strategic plan, Sustainable Maritime Development, was announced by Koji Sekimizu, former Secretary General in IMO, in 2011, as shown in this figure. So this strategy consists of 7 topics, including energy efficiency, new technology, and so on. Now, last year, the national R&D strategy for zero emission ship was announced to achieve the target in 2050 by Japan Ship Technology Research Association and the Ministry of Land Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. So this is the conclusion of my presentations. So in global level, so the application of geospatial analysis on ship emission inventory gives us the quantitative result of how GHG emission is clustered. So that in regional level, so simulation model emphasizes the transit time reduction and transport tariff while simultaneously enhancing cooperation within regional countries to enhance short-sea shipping in the Caspian Sea. Then finally, so the national strategic plan for sustainable maritime development was established in order to achieve the 2050 target of IMO strategy. So this presentation is based on 2 references. Please check them on the website if you are interested in. So this is the end of my presentation. So this vessel is the oldest steel vessel in Japan, and she was built in 1874 and located in our campus. So I hope to see you in Tokyo near future. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Watanabe. Finally, I give the floor to Mr. Ali Rıza Ersoy to present on sustainable future, managing the digital transformation.
Okay, hello everybody. I hope that you hear me. My name is Ali Rıza Ersoy. I worked in the last almost 30 years by the technology company Siemens and enjoying life in the last years actually. And in the last 8 to 10 years, I was very much involved in Industry 4.0, the digital transformation of the manufacturing industries, but not only. And in the last years, I'm dealing with the Agro 4.0, which is on the land side actually, instead of the cities. Let me come to my presentation. And okay, Didem, can you see it?
I can see it. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. So at first, welcome to the International Symposium of Sustainable Logistics. Many, many thanks to the Toros University, Logistic Association of Turkey, and Tokyo University. Special thanks goes to Professor Hazar and his team, the people which we can see here and with the people which we cannot see here who did a great job to organize such a very fruitful international symposium. The task which I had got is about managing the digital transformation. Let me begin with the history of the Industry 4.0. Only after that we can come back to the subject. As we all know, at the end of the 17th hundred, the steam power began to work, and the industrial age actually began. Afterwards, we called it as the first industrial revolution. So instead of the humankind's of muscles, the machine began to work. And then after that, in US this time, the first one is in UK. And after 80 years or so, in the States, electricity power came. And the electricity power ran the motor, and the motor ran the installation stream, actually. And afterwards, we called it as the second revolution. By the year 1970 around, electronics came on the stage, and the age of automation began. In all these three revolutions, industrial revolutions, the prices of the industrial goods decreased and the demand increased. And because of that, thousands of new factories and millions of new positions, industrial worker positions, became effective. So the wealth of humankind increased in such a short time, around 200 years or something, which is not comparable with the whole history of the mankind. So industry helped for the wealth of human being a lot in the last years. But something new happened. In the years of 2010, so in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, the industrial production of the Eastern countries, China, but not only, all these Eastern countries, the volume of the industrial production surpassed the industrial production of the Western companies. So this was a kind of threat for the West world. So they had to think of a kind of a new way of having their kingdom back. So this is the main reason for the fourth industrial revolution. So the West had to do something new to be able to increase their industrial manufacturing so that they can be happy again as they were before. And as the manufacturing industrial leader, one of the leaders as Germany, by the year 2013, they had a team of 20, 30 people, including from the company which I was working in Turkey, Siemens, as a technology company. And they worked out their country roadmap, and they announced it by the year 2013 with the name Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. Very shortly, it was the digitalization of the manufacturing industries. This new approach became very successful in a very short time, only in some years. And as this success was accepted by the whole world, all other industries began to use 4.0 to a kind of marketing of the digitalization of their industries, like health 4.0, education 4.0, art 4.0 even, and of course, logistics 4.0 and agro 4.0. Today, our subject is logistics, but the presentation which I'm going to give you is actually for the private companies or for public companies or for the institutions. So it isn't an academic approach. It is more or less a kind of commercial approach. How to manage the digital transformation on the way to Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution. Let's begin. We have to begin with the definitions. As academicians, there are three main buzzwords actually. The first one is digitization, the second one is digitalization, and the third one is a digital transformation. Digitization is the information which we collect from the factories, from the trucks, from the ships, all in the logistic chain. And some information are collected by analog ways, with all these things going around, you know. But it's not easy to capture this information. So in the last years, in every sector, in every factory, everybody tried to capture the information, the data, by digitization. So you know what it is, so I should not talk too much about it. It's the way of collecting the data in a digital form, in ones and zeros. After you are finished with that, the second step is the digitization. The digitalization is to digitalize the processes. I mean, the first one was the measurement devices, and the second one is the processes. So you should not use any more paper, you should not use any more people, you should not use any more Excel sheets. So the process has to be digitalized in every institution, independent from public or private or academia or something else. The third one is the final step actually, and this is the digital transformation, which is to transform the whole enterprise, the whole entity in a digital form. So this is the subject which we are dealing now today all around the world actually. The good news is that this is as any other change program which we are used in the past actually. So the process is nothing new. All you need is discipline and a good job, on time, on budget approaches. So we should not get scared of believing that something very new is coming. No, nothing new is coming. Only the subject is changing, the process is the same. The buzzword, the main point is to convince, because most people believe that in private companies, as you are older in the age and as you are higher in the hierarchy, you have the power. This is not true. It looks like you have the power, but normally you don't have it. So as you see on the image, the leader has to convince everybody in the company for a digital transformation, to be able to be active in the Industry 4.0 or Logistic 4.0 era. How? Tone at the top is the main subject here. The owner of the company or the CEO of the company or the managing board of the company has to come to the same point. If this is a private company, of course, the owner has the tone at the top. And if he or she does not believe, then you can forget everything. If the tone at the top is convinced that the digital transformation is the only way to survive even after Corona, which Corona helped us a lot on the way of digitalization, if he is convinced, then the managing board members have to be convinced as well. It's good that the people are thinking differently in the managing board. There's nothing wrong with that. It's healthy. But at the end of the day, the tone at the top has to convince all the members of the managing board, not to the same level maybe, but they have to come to a point that the digital transformation is the future. If there is an executive committee in the company, of course, the executive committee members have to be convinced as well. And then the CXO level, CEO, CFO, CMO, COO, all these people have to be convinced, beginning from top to that level. And of course, N-1 people, these are the hierarchical level which are reporting to the CXO level. So you cannot order things to do the digital transformation. The only way is to convince the people. And Corona helped us a lot in that direction. The second one is the beginning. How are we going to begin? It can be even an academic organization, I don't know, but in the private sector or public sector, in the companies, in the enterprises, the first step is to find out the potential of the organization. Potential means, if you look at the image, the whole area with gray tone is the potential. You are sitting or staying in a corner, and there is a great future, and this is your potential. So the company, beginning from the tone of the top, has to speak with each other and take a lot of time to find out where are our borders, how far we can fly. Then the second step is the current status. Where are we? That there may be many examples here. If the company is exporting to Japan, for example, why not exporting to China as well? Or why not to export to the whole Eastern countries, for example? Or how to increase how to decrease the cost by 50%, or how to increase the profit by 50%. I'm not speaking about 1, 2, 3, 5%. 20, 30, 40, 50%, such kind of gaps. And if these two steps are done, then the third one is the vision statement. You have to write down a sentence, only a sentence, one sentence, which describes the difference between the potential and the current status. This sentence will be known by every people in the team of the company or institution. So everybody is going to speak with the same sentence, only one sentence. All this process may take months, depending on the scale of the company. Next is the responsibilities. We have to find out who's going to do what. We need a sponsor. The sponsor is mostly from the managing board. A gray hair lady or a gray hair man has only one job in all this process, to overcome the barriers, nothing else. She or he has to create cash, has to solve the problems, has to motivate the people, nothing else. The second one we need is a chief digital officer, CDO. She or he is going to manage the whole transformation. She or he does not have to be an engineer. It's a plus, but it's not a must. He is going to find out the strategical moves and will do almost nothing in the daily routine work. The daily routine work will be done by the project management officer, PMO. There will be hundreds of small or large projects going on during the transformation. So all these projects have to be watched out carefully, designed carefully. All the responsibilities and all the due dates, all the related costs, and all the possible gains have to be estimated at the very beginning and followed daily, hourly. And of course, the front runners of each department have to be involved as a speaker in their department, like sales department, like marketing department and accounting department, or research and design department, like. So all these departments need to have a so-called front runner which are going to represent their departments in the whole change team. Facilitation. If we are not able to take the people on board, then we lose. We have to create a win-win aura, which means the company or the institution is going to win. Of course, this can be profit, this can be new markets, this can be volume, this can be anything, or this can be prestige, brand name, such. But everybody who is involved in the transformation has to win as well. And for that, we need long-lasting trainings, which the CXO level is going to attend as well. And not only, but also the partners. Partners are the members of the ecosystem of the enterprise. These are our distributors. These are our suppliers, for example. These are our sales channels, for example, right? All have to have long-lasting trainings all together, not only the company members. All the ecosystem has to be convinced to have the trainings together. And of course, the scorecard systematic for the team members of the company. If they will be successful, the company is going to earn. But of course, every team member has to earn as well. And this has to be defined at the very beginning for every single team member. The next is communication. At the very beginning, everybody is like on the left-hand side of the image. And they are scared. They don't know what's going to happen. If this is something positive for herself or not. If she is going to lose her job because of this digital transformation, or she is going to be awarded, she cannot know. There is no way. So she can only be confused at the very beginning. But if we take the communication very seriously, and if we take this communication very professionally, like having a title of the transformation, having a logo of the transformation, having a motto of communication, then we can communicate much faster and much professionally with our team members. The communication has to be internally and also externally. Internally, a big bang. After preparation of some months, a Monday morning, the big bang has to happen. As people come to the company, the flags of the new transformation should be on the walls of every place. And every employee has to have a small present and a letter signed by the CEO and stating that, guys, we began to transform in the digital era. And of course, all these internal communication efforts has to be supported by the external, by the whole ecosystem of the enterprise. These are the suppliers and distributors, right? Everybody which we are making our job togetherly has to be communicated properly. And at the end of the day, if we are successful, then on the right-hand side of the image, everybody is going to know what we are going to do, why we are doing it, at what time we are going to do it, how much it will cost, and what will be the earnings. Then we need tools. Without tools, we cannot manage such kind of complicated transformation projects, even in the small companies. Until now, we were mainly using so-called waterfall system, the Gantt charts, as we all know, right? But it's over. And the world is getting complicated, and digital transformation is very complicated. For that reason, we have to use new tools, like I just wrote some names here, Fresh, Gensoft, Wholefix, and such kind of, there are a lot of tools which can be used. And to be able to be successful in such kind of complex environment, everybody has to be alarmed if something is not going right, if not in the budget, if not on time. And so kind of professional alarm system, professional guiding tool systematic is essential. And almost everybody in the company has to be trained to be able to use these complicated tools. The next is the roadmap. There is no chance to be successful in any kind of transformation if you do not have a roadmap. We all know that this roadmap will not be the case in the real life. It will be never 100%, never. But 60%, 70% is already a great success. And the advices is, before we were making strategical roadmaps for 3 to 5 years in private sector, right? But this is already old, it's already gone. And the advice is, if possible, 1 year, if not, depending on the scale of the company, at most 2 years. Because the world is changing so fast, so any plan, any roadmap, longer than this period, that does not help, really. It brings only frustration. So we have to avoid frustrations. And it has to be quarterly. We should not work out roadmaps for monthly or weekly, something like that. In any case, we are not going to succeed. We know it. All we need is a kind of direction where we are going to go. This is true for every department of the enterprise and for the whole enterprise. And of course, we have to think on the resources. Do we have the people? Do we have the cash? Do we have the visual approach? Do we have the mindsets which are adequate for such kind of a digital transformation? And of course, the costs, the cash, and the return on investment has to be precisely calculated in quarterly made at most 2 years of roadmap. Then we have to measure the KPIs, the key performance indicators. They have to be as little as possible and as simple as possible. Then of course we have to measure return on investment. We are not doing all these things for joy. We are doing it for business. We are doing it for our targets, whatever the targets are. And we need a dashboard for everybody. If possible, a great digital dashboard in the entrance of the company that shows us daily if we are doing some projects properly, or we are lagging the time, we are out of time, or we are out of budget. So this has to be a transparent, no playing around with the figures, a real ethical, transparent dashboard for everybody. Of course, not everybody is going to be able to see every information, but as much as information which they are able to watch, they have to watch. They may feel happy some days, they may feel too bad some days, but a dashboard is the orientation of the digital transformation. It's a necessity. And then the methodology. If we are on the way for digital transformation, why we do not take the chance to do the way of working differently, like design thinking, user experience, user interfaces, the new ones, or disruptive innovation. And we should not speak about EFQM models or something like that. These are already very old. Or VUCA, volatile, unexpected, complex, ambiguous way of doing jobs, or the agile way of doing jobs, or the resilience way of organizing our organizations. So we can do all these major changes in our organization at the same time with the digital transformation. Of course, everything is for the sustainable future, right? And this is the last slide. When we are there, let's say after 2 years, we were working so hard, a lot of blood and sweat, right? Then the benefit of the company is the retention. because the team members, the workers, the team members of the company is going to think like, I'm so happy, I'm so lucky. I'm working in the company which has the vision of the digital transformation. And we did it all togetherly. I learned a lot. And this is the best place to work. Retention, which is very expensive normally. But this comes almost at no cost. Then the financials or the markets, the global leadership in the global markets, the companies who are not able to be successful in the digital transformation, they are going to lose for sure. Longevity, especially the private sector companies which are ruled by the families. I don't know the other countries, but in Turkey, the third generation furniture is around 90%. The first generation is successful. The second generation is still successful, but 90% of the companies no more exit after the third generation. So longevity is one of the buzzwords in digital transformation. The multiplier effect. If one company is successful, all the other ones are trying to do the same. If one logistic company becomes shining regarding the digital transformation, all the others, all the competitors will try to do the same actually. So this is the multiplier effect. And happiness. We will all be happy at the end. I mean, why we are living to be happy, right? And the dreams. All the dreams which we dreamed 2 years ago became the reality after hard job of work in these days. So if we want to think about our children, if we want to think on the future of our planet, if we think about our institutions, our academic organizations, our public or private enterprises, please think big, but start small now. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alireza Ersoy, for your contribution. Now, may I request our keynote speakers to check their chat box if they have received any question or not. Maybe some of our participants asked some questions. Can you please check your chat box? And for the others, if you want to ask questions right now, please feel free to ask any questions, to write any questions to the chat box.
Yeah, I have 2 questions, okay, in chat box.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking. The first one is the Tokyo Metropolitan area also a low emission zone? The answer is no. There are no low emission zone in Tokyo metropolitan areas. And second question is there competition among truck terminals? So I introduced the 4 truck terminals in Tokyo prefectures, but that 4 truck terminals are managed by only one company. So there are no competitions among the 4 truck terminals. But in 1960s, truck terminals was constructed as for just the transfer facilities from large size trucks to small size trucks. But now the truck terminals are constructing the distribution centers. So its distribution center is one of the warehouse. So there are very severe competition between truck terminals and warehouse companies. So that's the current situation. Okay, thank you very much for your asking. That's all.
Okay. Is it okay? Do you have any questions to our keynote speakers?
excuse me, I received two questions from Professor Tanyash.
Okay.
First one is, what do you think using nuclear energy for ships? So this question is quite difficult for me to understand the technical topics related to shipbuilding. But yeah, nuclear energy is also useful for marine transport. But we need to consider the kind of the risks for disaster or something. So the second question is, will it be any change on TC-TC traffic after pandemic at the same time, considering USA and China relations? This question is quite important for considering the situation in Caspian Sea. So actually, the traffic volume between Turkey, Kazakhstan and Iran is increasing and increasing because port development in Iran is also now conducting. So Iran is also tend to deploy the TC route between China and Iran. So I think that the Caspian Sea is a kind of the interchange between the north, east, and west in Turkey, and also north to south to Iran. So thank you very much for your question.
Okay, so are there any questions? Thank you very much, Professor
So sorry.
Watanabe. By the way,
If there is no question, I would like to thank again to all valuable keynote speakers for their presentations and strong collaborations in the name of Toros University. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
okay. And if you don't have any questions now, I would like to thank all keynote speakers and participants once again for their contributions. In the next part of the symposium program, scientific studies will be presented at 12:30 p.m. in Turkish local time. The scientific sessions will be held on 3 parallel sessions. Participants who want to follow the presentations or present their study in the sessions can attend the breakout rooms written in the booklet. We hope the symposium to be beneficial and productive. Good luck to you all. See you.
Do you hear me? This is the voice of an embryo past. The sound of horses and the strong walk of men. Do you feel me? This is your cultural thrill. The smell of a powerful land. Can you see me?
Within you dies danger. Somebody